Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tearing right through that sleek, pastel-colored illusion of modern app-based borrowing to look at the brutal financial reality lying just beneath the surface. If you're a young professional, specifically in that 18 to 30 range, your financial ecosystem has been entirely engineered for absolute frictionlessness. But you know that smooth, soft lavender user interface on your phone? Yeah, it's actually masking a highly efficient wealth extraction machine. Get this. Right now, a staggering 41% of new borrowers in India belong exactly to that demographic, Gen Z, aged 18 to 30. You are the target market. But what's really terrifying isn't just how many young people are borrowing, it's what happens after. Overdue payments, and we're talking specifically about those sitting unpaid for 91 to 360 days, have violently surged by 44% year over year. The debt trap isn't some boomer myth anymore. In 2026, it is a cold, hard statistical reality. Okay, moving to Section 1, the silent debt trap. So let's dive into what is actually driving this massive statistical surge in defaults. Well, it turns out the answer lies in what industry insiders are calling the double bonanza. As young professionals, your starting salaries and earning potential are objectively higher than past generations. You've got real money coming in. But when that income is mixed with the seductive convenience of one-click credit apps, it creates a highly dangerous, almost completely invisible debt-to-income ratio. The old friction of going to a bank, filling out paperwork, waiting to get approved, that's totally gone. It's been completely replaced by a simple thumbprint scan on your phone. And here's the terrifying result of all that frictionlessness. Recent reports highlight some horrifying case studies of entry-level professionals. We're talking people earning around 35,000 rupees a month who somehow managed to accumulate up to 40 lakh rupees in silent debt. Crazy, right? How does that even happen? Well, it's because it's fragmented. It's not one massive bank loan. It's a few credit cards here, some buy now, pay later schemes there, and maybe a half dozen app-based EMIs for a phone, a new laptop, maybe a vacation. It just quietly chips away at your future, one tiny monthly deduction at a time.
Section 2, the no-cost EMI myth. Now, a massive driver of this fragmented debt is the marketing around how we buy things online. Specifically, the grand illusion of the no-cost EMI. When you click that no-cost EMI button, a brilliantly clean, minimalist routing trick happens right in the background. The bank is absolutely still charging its standard 15 to 20% interest, they just book it internally. So to make the math work, the merchant simply reduces the upfront cash discount they would have normally given you. And guess who ends up paying for it? You do. You indirectly pay that interest by agreeing to a higher base price for the product.
Think about that checkout screen for a second. It's so minimalist and calm, right? It boldly promises you zero interest and the absolute best discount. But juxtapose that against the harsh, underlying math. The bank is essentially shifting the real costs right back onto your plate, quietly padding your monthly bill with fees and taxes that completely obliterate the illusion of free credit. Let's actually stack this up so you can see the real damage. First, the government charges 18% GST on that hidden internal interest. To put that in perspective, on a 1 lakh rupee purchase, that hidden GST alone costs you an extra $3,000 to $5,000. Then add the loss of the massive upfront cash discount you could have had. Next, throw in a convenience conversion fee from the bank, which usually runs anywhere from 99 rupees to 1,000 rupees, plus even more GST. And finally, if you try to be responsible and actually pay off the EMI early, boom, you get hit with foreclosure penalties. It is an absolute maze of hidden costs. Which brings us to Section 3, the 1 rupee danger. Now, the hidden fees aren't even the most punishing part of this ecosystem. We really need to talk about the razor-thin margin for error when you're juggling multiple one-click credit options. 1 rupee, a single, solitary rupee. That is literally all it takes to trigger an absolute avalanche on your credit card statement. Let me explain what happens if you decide to pay your bill, but you accidentally leave just 1 rupee of your total outstanding balance unpaid. Missing that single rupee instantly voids the famous 45-day interest-free grace period. And not just for the past month, it voids it for all subsequent purchases until the entire balance is cleared. That means the coffee you grab the next morning, the groceries you pick up that weekend, everything starts accruing high interest from the very second you swipe the card. It's a brutal mechanism, totally designed to catch you slipping up. All right, Section 4, your new regulatory shield. Now, before you swear off the modern financial system entirely, it's time to pivot. As of 2026, the Reserve Bank of India has stepped in. And please, don't just think of these as boring compliance laws. Think of them as a regulatory toolkit you can use to actively protect yourself. Let's look at how this builds into real-world protection and, honestly, real-world responsibility. The old system meant banks reported your usage to credit bureaus once a month. Now, it's fortnightly, every 15 days. If you go on a reckless spending spree on day 1 and max out your limits by day 7, that high utilization is reported to CIBIL by day 15, so a single reckless week will tank your credit score almost instantly. It basically forces you to stay vigilant and keeps you from spiraling out of control for a whole month unchecked. Plus, a lot of the sneaky tactics are gone. Banks can no longer silently increase your credit limit in the background just because you've been paying on time. Now, they require your explicit digital or written consent to upgrade you. Furthermore, they're mandated to acknowledge billing disputes within a fixed time period. So if an app overcharges you, you aren't going to be paralyzed for months by hanging debt while customer service just completely ignores you. So the really crucial point here is the new definition of the minimum amount due, which is appropriately known as MAD. Previously, banks absolutely loved it when you just paid the minimum, because that minimum often only covered the interest. You could literally pay for years and never actually reduce the principal amount. But this 2026 update forces your minimum payment to include a fixed portion of the principal along with all the taxes and fees. It actively destroys the forever debt cycle. You are actually paying off what you owe every single month. Which brings us to the ultimate question. The friction has been totally removed from spending, but building real wealth? That requires focus, discipline, and truly understanding the math behind the screen. Your apps are one click, but is your financial freedom? Look past the soft aesthetics of your phone's interface. Understand the mechanism, use your regulatory shield, and fiercely protect your future. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and stay focused.